Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and in today's video we are gonna be talking all about Sakura and how you can use her in Street Fighter V. So let us get started. So what type of character is Sakura? In my opinion, she is a jack of all trades, although I will say that her specialty is punishing, both on block and on whiff, thanks to her fantastic walk speed and the standing light kick. This is an attack with a very long range and very fast startup. And these two tools combined allow Sakura to get in and out of their opponent range and actually punish them on whiff, or if they happen to do an attack that is unsafe on block. You also get to walk forward and get into the range that you need to and punish with a standing light kick. This is the best thing about the character. Her fireball is pretty okay for the game standard. It is one of the best fireballs she had in a while actually, but for generally in Street Fighter V it is an alright fireball. You will be able to hang with Ryu for a little bit if he's throwing a fireball. As you can see, like, you're not gonna out fireball Ryu, but at least for some most part you are hanging, so that is not too bad. One of the issues that I have to address though is that she doesn't have good anti-fireball tools. You kinda have the heavy kick tatsu, but as you saw, Ryu actually recovered, and you have to do the heavy kick tatsu super early, super preemptive, so it's not really a good fireball or anti-fireball tool. You kinda have to rely on your walk speed, jumping, and generally just making reads versus the fireballs or the zoning in general. This is one of her issues in my opinion. Now, one of the things that makes Sakura really special is her corner carry. A lot of her combos carry her opponent to the corner very easily. For example, one heavy punch into V-skill, and bam, they are in the corner. One combo into EX Tatsu, and bam, they are in the corner. And once you got them in the corner, her corner pressure is very good thanks to her ability to shimmy her opponent. As you see, this throw leaves you at a plus 12 advantage, and she have a very fast walk speed, so it's very easy to do this. And once you have established it, you can pretty much simply just shimmy them. Pretty much mix up your throw or shimmy mix up, which is actually really powerful. Now, one of these things that I have to be very clear about, and this might be a little bit controversial, is that I do think her anti-airs are just okay. The crouching heavy punch is a pretty consistent anti-air. The issue is that it's not very rewarding, right? You don't get that much out of it, and this is a big problem considering that many characters in Street Fighter V get very easy mix-ups. Some characters get left and right, some characters mix you into command grabs and all of that. She doesn't get any of that. If they are jumping from a far distance, light punch DP is pretty alright, but again, you just get some damage. 72 is not that much. The only really rewarding anti-air is the down forward heavy kick, but it's very hard to use this to anti-air your opponent from my experience. You can get a heavy punch DP here, and that's pretty alright. Air throw is pretty nice, you get a lot of damage and stun on it, so it is a good option in actuality. And the jumping medium punch is a good air to air, and you can special cancel it to air tatsu for some decent follow-ups. So the air to airs in general are nice. The grounded anti-airs I feel are okay, but they're not very rewarding, and you have to be careful when using the crouching heavy punch, because if this get empty jump, it have a ton of recovery, so you can get empty jumped and punished. Some things that you have to address. Overall, Sakura is a very solid character. She have an easy to understand concepts that are easy to use. In applications, maybe they are not the easiest to use in my opinion, but she is very easy to grasp and to understand. So as we always do, we will start first by breaking down the character normal attacks, and as the first one we will start off with is the crouching light punch. This is Sakura's 3-frame attack. It is pretty decent because it leaves you in throw range, so you can throw your opponent after. However, there is an issue with the crouching light punch. Notice above, it is +1 on block. If you are not familiar, this is problematic because if your opponent have a 3-frame attack, throws are 5 frames starter. So this is a 4-frame gap. If your opponent have a 3-frame, you can jab and then throw them after, right? This is a big problem. To actually get to be able to use this as a tech throw, you first have to convince them to stop mashing buttons. You can usually do that by doing crouching light punch, crouching light punch. If you do it, double of them into themselves, they will frame trap into it. The attack will frame trap into itself. Then you combo into standing light kick, and then medium punch uppercut. Do this enough, and if your opponent is a normal human, they will be programmed to stop mashing, then you get to throw them, right? That is typically how it goes. Now, because this attack is sadly only +1 on block, you don't really get to frame trap into any mediums as well, and even your light punches, the other lights are gonna trade, right? So the only frame trap option out of the crouching light punch is gonna be another crouching light punch. Even at a +5 advantage here, you're too far to link off a medium and too far to link off a standing light punch. The only consistent follow-up is gonna be light kick, right? This is gonna be the only things that you can do that have any sort of consistency. Now, because the attack is the 3-frame attack as well, it makes it really good for interruption. So let's say for example that Kage is gonna be doing a block string like that one. It is your fastest normal, so it is what you're gonna be using if you are suspecting your opponent is doing a fake block string or one with a lot of gaps. That is the button that you will wanna use to interrupt in these situations. So it's an okay, it's good to have a 3-frame, but this one isn't it's not great, it's just fine. The next one is gonna be her standing light punch, and standing light punch is actually pretty nice in my opinion. It is 4-frame, but it is +2 on block. Because it's +2 on block, it's the better option for frame traps, because you get to frame trap into the standing medium punch after it. Notice if Kage is trying to mash, he gets hit. So then you can do that, combo into a heavy uppercut, or combo into a heavy tatsu, however you want. So that is pretty nice, and it does have good range on it, which allow you to kinda do multiple of them in a row, right? Like at least this is a very good string where your opponent can't really do much about, so that is pretty nice. I will say for pressure purposes, the standing light punch is better than the crouching. You have to be, you have to know that it doesn't leave you in throw range. So after the standing light punch, you can't throw them after, you have to walk forward into it, which obviously means that if they are mashing, they can interrupt this, right? But it is better for frame traps because you get to frame trap into the mediums. So it is the better option if you're trying to just press against your opponent, and it naturally combos into the standing light kick. So even from a little bit of maximum range like that, you still get this to combo. Crouching light punch doesn't combo into light kick, so the natural combo route will be crouching light into standing light kick, right? This is the natural combo route, but this by itself only combos on counter hit. So even on conversions, this is pretty nice. It's very easy, it's a pretty good hit confirm. Double light punches into light kick into medium punch dragon punch. It's a very good sequence. The next one is gonna be crouching light kick, and her crouching light kick is a pretty interesting attack. It does have an okay range for crouching light kick actually, and it does it doesn't leave her in throw range. But the good thing about this attack is that it combos into her crouching light punch. So you can do crouching light kick, crouching light punch into EX Tatsu, or you can do crouching light kick, crouching light punch into medium punch DB, right? Now this is important for a big reason. After Sakura's heavy kick Tatsu, this will leave you point blank, and you're gonna be +2, so you can immediately throw your opponent, or you can go for the crouching light kick, crouching light punch. This is very similar to Laura's light punch bolt, where she can go for a crouching light kick, crouching light punch to catch you trying to walk back. So after a heavy kick Tatsu, this is very good to catch them if they're trying to walk backward. and if they're not, you can just throw them, right? So it does give her a good mix-up, in my opinion. It's always good to have a low check. This is pretty much her one of her best low checks, in my opinion. The final normal is gonna be the standing light kick, and this is probably the biggest part of Sakura's neutral and by far her most important normal. This normal is gonna be very important for whiff punishing and for punishing attacks on block. It does take some knowledge to know which attacks are -4 and which are punishable and which are not, which is one of the difficult parts of playing Sakura, because she is an honest character. You pretty much are not gonna get away with mix-ups or like 50-50, grab or throw mix-ups and all of that. It's all gonna be about the neutral, punishing on block and on whiff, and it is important to know what is punishable and what isn't. As an example, let's say for example that Kage is gonna do his forward heavy punch. This attack is -4, so if you block it as Sakura, let's try it one more time. I was a little bit late here. You get to punish, for example, with standing light kick into Shoryuken. That is a pretty good punish. And if you walk backward a little bit, you make him whiff, and you still get the same punish as well. That is actually really good. Now, the combo potential out of standing light kick is decent on counter hit, but on regular hit isn't fantastic. On regular hit, you pretty much get light punch and medium punch uppercut. You can also do EX uppercut if you want, but you don't get any Tatsus. Even EX Tatsus, this doesn't really combo. And you can't combo into fireballs either. You can combo into an EX fireball and the regular one on counter hit, right? So in counter hit, you can get the fireball and a counter hit light kick into EX fireball. This is actually a pretty good V-trigger activation, so it is decent on counter hit, making the attack even useful in frame traps. Like, hey, we are gonna frame trap our opponent, right? You can frame trap something like standing medium punch into it, right? Get the activation and then get some big damage follow-ups. So next up, let's talk about her medium attack, starting first with the standing medium punch. This is one of her main combo tools and one of her main pressure tools. It is 5 frame startup and +3 on block. The issue obviously is that the range is very short, so it is difficult to even do 2 of them in a row. But because of Sakura's walk speed, it is pretty nice to be able to walk forward and do it again. Obviously, your opponent can interrupt some of these or they can backdash and all of that, but because the attack itself is +3 on block, it does give you some options for frame trapping. For example, you can easily frame trap into the crouching medium kick, and then you can kinda hit confirm that crouching medium kick into an uppercut, maybe then into a Tatsu. Primarily you wanna go into heavy punch DP if you can, right? And obviously you can also frame trap into standing light kick, you can frame trap into crouching medium punch. A lot of options here and a lot of really good ways to like frame trap your opponent if they try to mash, which enables you to do it and then walk forward and do it again, obviously ending in a throw, right? If your opponent is never gonna block, then you start to throw them, and that is pretty good. Now, this attack is also, obviously, like I said, very important for combos because it combos into her back heavy punch naturally, it combos into her crouching medium kick, it combos into her crouching medium punch, and into the light kick. You wanna combo into the light kick at the furthest ranges, right? Because from a little bit of a distance like that, some of the others may whiff, right? Where the light kick is the most consistent. So if you are from a far range, just do medium into light kick into medium uppercut. If you're up close, always try to go for the back heavy punch because this will give you the most amount of damage. Then obviously at this point you can combo into a heavy kick Tatsu. This will leave you in throw range, so you can go for this mix up, or obviously you can go for the DP here, right, which is the highest damage. So these are the 2 combo routes that you can take, right? Now, next up, we will talk about the crouching medium punch, and her crouching medium punch it's an interesting pressure tool, but it's also a really good tool in the neutral. On pressure, this attack is +2 on block, right? So you can use it and then pressure your opponent afterwards as well. So you can do stuff like that, right? Use it and frame trap into standing light punch. if they try to interrupt. That is pretty nice. On hit, this is a natural combo as well, this same sequence, right? So this is a sequence that will work on block and on hit, and like I showed earlier, on block the attack itself is +2 on block, and it doesn't have that much pushback, so also you can slight micro walk and then throw your opponent. It is an underrated pressure tool, but what's really special about this attack is that the hitbox is extended past the hurt box, making it a really good attack to shake forward movement and a really good buffer in general. Let's say for example here that Kage is gonna be dashing forward, right? It's a really good attack to just throw out there as a buffer and hope to catch something, right? It is decently fast and doesn't have that much recovery. But because of the extended hitbox, notice that it is actually possible to hit your opponent from really far ranges. The hurt box does linger for a couple of frames after the hitbox is gone, so you can get whiff punished, but it's also possible to catch your opponent from really far ranges. Like you've seen, even though it looks like you shouldn't be hitting them, the hitbox is actually longer than it seems. So I like to use this in the neutral and buffer it into fireball, or buffer it into tatsus, or buffer it into heavy uppercut. It is better than it looks in my opinion. The next attack is gonna be the standing medium kick. This is a pretty standard poke. One of the highlights of it is that it is +1 on block, so you actually get to like shake them with a light kick after. So even if they blocked it, you get to light kick. Obviously it's pretty good against low hitting attacks, like say Kage's crouching medium kick, right? This is gonna be pretty good versus that style of attack. And like I said, it is +1 on block, so that is pretty nice. It's also pretty decent for V-trigger activation actually. If you happen to V-trigger activate on block, it does give you a lot of plus frames. You're gonna be +9, and it does leave you pretty close to your opponent, not that much for pushback, so that is pretty good. And on hit, it is also plus enough on activation, +11, so you can actually get to follow up after it. So I will use this for V-trigger activation, and I will use it to just go over low attacks. It is a pretty nice poke in all honesty, all things considered. Now the final attack is gonna be the crouching medium kick. And crouching medium kick is a very important normal for Sakura because you get to shake your opponent walking backwards, and obviously it frame traps from the standing medium punch. So like I said before, this is very important. Now there is something I wanna comment on really fast. One of the main bread and butter combo routes for Sakura is doing standing medium punch into crouching medium kick and then doing the heavy punch uppercut. I understand that this input might be a little bit tricky to some of the newcomers, so what you wanna do is after you press the crouching medium kick, you complete the fireball motion and then press down forward and heavy punch, right? Take a look at my input. I pretty much did forward and then down, down, forward, and that is how you get the uppercut. Again, you can complete the fireball motion and then go down, down, forward into heavy punch if you want, or you can tap them, whatever make you comfortable. I pretty much like to just complete the motion myself, but either way works. This is the way you're supposed to do to get crouching medium kick into heavy punch uppercut. It is very important for Sakura, and it is something that if you are struggling with, you kind of have to train on because it is important for her. This is pretty much her main combo route, so it is important to learn how to do this with some consistency. Now regarding the attack itself, it doesn't have as much range as you would hope. The range is alright, but it could be longer certainly. But it is nice. It is nice that you get the heavy punch uppercut. It is nice that you can get the light kick tatsu. And if you do the light kick tatsu, it will leave you at a +2 advantage. Obviously you're not in throw range, but then you can walk forward and throw them, or simply just start to pressure them. One of the really cool things about the crouching medium kick is that you can kind of frame trap with a lot into it. If you do the fireball like that, you'll trade. You can do the fireball into the EX, or the crouching medium kick into EX fireball, and this is a frame trap. Obviously a really good V-trigger activation as well. So frame trapping with the medium kick into fireballs is pretty nice, and you can obviously like commit to EX Tatsu, and that was a really good V-trigger activation. You can just use the crouching medium kick into light kick tatsu. This is pretty much safe from block if your opponent tries to interrupt. It is -2 only, so it is really good. The final medium attack she have is gonna be her overhead, and this is a pretty standard overhead, although I do think it's a little bit hard to see, simply because the startup of it kinda looks like the heavy kick. At least to me personally, you can't really, it is special for two reasons. The first one is that it leaves you on throw range on hit, and this is not really that common. I think only Nash has this, so if you do it up close like that, you can still throw them after without even walking, so that is pretty interesting. And notice it is +1 on hit, which means that if this happen to land as a counter hit, the crouching jab will combo, right? So that's actually pretty interesting. It means that you can get this into like medium punch uppercut or into an EX Tatsu, right? Both of these will actually work. So that's an interesting follow-up to an overhead. This makes it above average in my opinion, and like I said, because of the frame trap potential out of her crouching medium kick, there is a lot that you can do with this overhead. So next up we will talk about Sakura's heavy attack, starting first with the standing heavy punch. Her standing heavy punch is a high reward whiff punish. It is harder to whiff punish with this than with her standing light kick, but if you happen to do so, you get to use your V skill 2 and then get a medium punch uppercut because you are considered to be hitting them grounded. So it does build a good amount of V gauge and a good amount of corner carry. It also combos on a counter hit after the standing medium punch, and this is pretty nice. So let's say for example that we did a sequence like that one, right? You will get the heavy punch to connect after the counter hit medium, which again means decent amount of corner carry, and you get to build V gauge. Now one thing that you have to know is that it is shorter than the back heavy punch, right? Back heavy punch have a little bit more range, so for example in a sequence like that one, standing heavy whiffs while the back heavy will connect. So know that it is shorter. It is important to keep that in mind. So only use it when you are close enough and are sure that it is gonna hit, because it does have some sizable recovery on whiff. Next up we will talk about the back heavy punch. Back heavy punch is one of her main combo tools. This is gonna be the primary usage. Obviously it combos and it will it is special cancelable and combos into heavy kick tatsu. This leaves you in a good pressure situation. You can do that into heavy punch uppercut as well, and this gives you a good damage output. Because the attacks move her forward a little bit, you can get it, and this will leave you in enough close enough situation to combo the anti-air fireball, and this typically puts the opponents in juggle state, right? So this is actually pretty nice. Even mid-screen, this is actually pretty nice because you get to combo a heavy punch uppercut, so that is pretty okay. You can do stuff like that, good damage output and good Oki. Even if you have the V-Trigger 2 on, you can use it and then combo into the aerial one and then switch sides with the V-Skill 2. Maybe then you can use the V-Trigger special and get some damage. So it's a big part of a lot of her higher damage combos, right? And you can use it also as a crush counter. Can lead to some decent damage here, although I don't love the application. Like, I don't love using it as a crush counter. If say Kagi did with ADP, I would recommend using the down forward heavy kick more, because you don't get the added scaling of the crush counter and you still get to do the big damage combos. That is just my personal preference currently, but it is possible to use it as a crush counter, and again we will be leaving a combo section at the end showing you the possible follow-ups. Next up we will talk about the crouching heavy punch. This is her go-to anti-air. If your opponent is jumping in on you, this is pretty reliable. If they are doing a jump from a little bit of a distance, you don't get much in terms of follow-up mix-ups. If they are a little bit up close, you can kinda like walk forward and throw them, or you will be enough to like pressure them kinda like that after they got air reset. Now, one of the good things about the crouching heavy punch is that it's also really good in combos. because it combo into the medium kick Tatsu. And obviously this will leave you close enough and at a +3, which means that you get a crouching light punch. So then you can combo a medium punch DP, or obviously if you want to go for the maximum corner carry, you can go for a crouching light punch into EX Tatsu. This does a ton of corner carry and really good damage, as you can see. One important thing about the anti-air I kind of forgot to mention is that you can cancel the crouching heavy punch into V skill 2. Unlike poison, this doesn't leave you at plus frames, but it will switch sides. So for example, if you are cornered and the opponent will jump in on you, you can use this to get out of the corner. It is one of the good applications of it, right? Like one of the things that you have to keep in mind. Like I showed obviously at the start, it is susceptible to empty jumps, so you have to be careful of that. Only use it when you know you are gonna be able to anti-air your opponent, but the hitbox is actually very good at hitting above Sakura's head. Now next up, let's switch over to the kicks. Standing heavy kick is her neutral tool crush counter. It is her longest range normal. It does have some sizable recovery on whiff, so make sure that you are not whiffing it. It's a typical -4 on block crush counter attack, so if you happen to get blocked, it is -4, so that is typical in a way. And if you happen to land it as a crush counter, it will leave you at a +20 advantage. This means that you can dash and get this combo follow-up, right, which is pretty standard. Or if you have V skill 2, you can just cancel it into V skill 2, get the knee and then get the medium punch TP. This will give you a really good amount of V skill building. Actually, let's take a look at how much V gauge this build. You will see that it actually does a really good chunk. Right, that is almost 2/3 of a V trigger bar, so it's actually really good for V gauge building, right? And one of the cool things here is that if you happen to land this in the corner, you're gonna be +5 after a dash, which means that you get to combo a standing medium punch. So it's like after this particular situation, right, you can get some follow-ups like that, which is a lot of damage, specifically after a throw. So after a throw, standing heavy kick, you get to dash up and be +5, so that is important to know. Next up, we will talk about her sweep, and she does have a pretty standard sweep. It's not the fastest and the range isn't fantastic, just pretty alright, I would say. Certainly nothing like what Karen have, and on a hit it does leave you at a +1 advantage if you typically dash, but if you cancel it into V skill, you're gonna be +7 on the wake up, so that actually does leave you at a pretty decent advantage, I would say, right? Like let's say like you can do stuff like that, bam, and use this as a meaty. That's actually pretty nice, right? Next up, we will talk about his down forward heavy kick. Her down forward heavy kick, this is one of her main pressure tools. This is what you use a lot as a meaty. So let's say for example that we knock down Kagi and he is gonna try to wake up with a jab, right? So he's gonna try to wake up with a light punch. This is specifically good, I would say, if you got them in the corner. So you'll be doing the down forward heavy punch a lot, right? And this is be used because it have a lot of active frames. You will use it like that to catch them as a meaty, then you get to follow up however you want. Because on a counter hit it is +6, so she gets to combo into a standing heavy punch, right? And this pretty much means that you get to do your maximum damage combos as you want, so that is pretty nice. If your opponent happened to whiff a DB, or like he baited a DB and got blocked, I would also go with the down forward heavy punch punish, because as you can see it can lead to a lot of damage. Now this attack can also be used as a situational anti-air. It is a little bit slow, so it is hard to use as an anti-air, but if you happen to land it, it puts the opponent in a juggle state, and you can actually get a ton of damage output out of this, right? I haven't been honestly very successful at using it because like I said, it is pretty slow, but it is very rewarding if you happen to land it, right? That's actually pretty nice. The follow-ups here are pretty good. So let's now talk about Sakura's notable air normals and her V skills. I'm gonna start first with the jumping light kick. This is a cross-up attack. Notice it was +6 on hit. This is very uncommon for jumping lights because it means that Sakura gets to combo into medium, right? Which means good damaging combos. Really above average for a jumping light attack to be this advantageous on hit. So that is pretty nice. She also have her jumping medium kick, and this is a fucked up cross-up but have a ton of range. The hitbox is gigantic. Notice that on hit, Sakura's +9, it can be +10, +11 depending on how deep it hits, which means that Sakura get a crouching heavy punch combo, which means that this can lead to some of her maximum damage combos, right? Right out of the gate here, you are getting a ton of damage because of a cross-up jumping medium kick. It's actually really good. Now, jumping heavy kick is also a fucked up jumping normal. This is insanely good. It hits very deep, it hits very downwards. This is very good at beating many of the anti-airs, and you can do it super early as well. I'm doing it super early on the air. The hitbox is active for forever, and because the angle on it is very skewed downwards, make it a very good jumping. It's one of the best jumping attacks in the game in my opinion. It is absolutely awesome. Now, Sakura also have a couple of really good air-to-air normals. Jumping medium punch is a fantastic air-to-air and it is special cancelable. So let's say that Nash is jumping in on us like that. You can do it and it will put them in a juggle state like that. You can land them and juggle an uppercut, or you can special cancel it in the air into Tatsu. Even jumping back, you can just jump back medium punch into air EX Tatsu, getting good damage and stun. And she also have a really good air throw. You can do this really late as well, and the air throw have very fast start time, so it's a pretty reliable anti-air in my opinion. And let's say for example that you are in the corner, your opponent is jumping in on you, jump air throw, and whoops, now they are in the corner and you get to run your pressure. So it is really good. Now let's talk V skills, and I'm gonna start first with V skill 1. And I'm not a big fan of Sakura's V skill 1. Typically, lunge attacks or like alternate jump V skills in Street Fighter V, they aren't good really. The only ones that became good after many patches was Chun-Li's, but like Poison's is pretty weak, and this one is in the same vein. The idea here is that you can use this for mix-ups because this is a standing command grab. If they are standing, even if they are blocking everything, right? This is a command grab, so they will get thrown, does 150 damage to 100 stun. So that's actually not bad. And the idea is obviously that the punch follow-up, this is an overhead, so notice that Nash is standing up to block it, right? And obviously you have the dive kick to delay your landing timing. Now there are a couple of issues here that I'm not a big fan, that makes me not a big fan of this. First of all, I feel like it's too slow, right? Typically what you can do here is use it in conjunction with V-Trigger 1. Right, something like that, and use that as your approach tool, right? And while that works, I think it's also not an ideal use of the meter because it doesn't complement it that good on hit, right? If it happened to land, like if the V-Trigger happened to land, you're not really getting that much here. Maybe with the anti-air version, if they are standing and you happen to land this, yeah, you are getting some follow-ups, but this is not really good synergy, right? It's better on block than it is on hit, so that is not really fantastic. And it is slow enough that I think it can be anti-air. Overall, it feels pretty gimmicky, right? It is decent if you use it with the V-Trigger 2, because with V-Trigger 2, this can actually lead to some massive damage, right? Because obviously you get the direct follow-up and then gets to juggle a DP. But in all honesty, while this is still really amazing, I think V skill 2 in general is a lot more solid and you should probably default to using V skill 2. V skill 2 is very good for variable reasons. The first one is that it's actually pretty easy to combo into it, right? Like let's say for example, like we showed before, you're just doing one standing heavy punch, then you get to combo into the V skill, right? That's actually pretty nice, right? It's a V skill that you can combo into, so this is actually pretty good. Also, for example, if you happen to get the standing heavy kick as a crush counter, you get to combo the standing heavy kick, then the uppercut, ton of corner carry and ton of damage. It actually does a lot of corner carry as well. Let's check out another example with V trigger 1. Let's turn on the meter backwards again to let me start. So let's say for example that you don't have the V skill, right? Typically you can do something like this and go for the heavy punch uppercut. It's some good damage and carry, right? But if you have the V trigger key V skill 2 on, right? Now they are at the corner and you get to pressure. So it adds a lot of corner carry to Sakura. It also gives her a lot of really unique tools. For example, you get to have some side switch combos with this one. So let's say for example that we were in the corner, like that. Like let's say we are in the corner. You got to activate. You get to do this now and side switch and keep them in the corner. Obviously the idea here is that if you cancel the upward fireball to it, you get to side switch, so that is pretty cool. And you can even do that with V trigger 2 as well. If we do the same thing, but if we use Itatsu, right, you get to side switch. So that's actually pretty nice, right? The ability to side switch is pretty good, and the functionality in general of being able to use it after a lot of attacks, that's pretty solid, right? Like you wanna use the V skill that is solid for your bread and butter V skill instead of the gimmicks. And like I said previously, you can do something like sweep, and then if it happened to land, cancel into V skill for better Oki. You can use it after the fireball with charged. If it happened to land, you get here to juggle a medium punch uppercut, right? A ton of corner carry as well. So it has much more practical uses. And obviously one of the final ones is again, if you are cornered, you get to have the ability to do this even if you are negative, but you pretty much switched side and got to escape the corner. So there is a lot more solid functionality to V skill 2, which makes it the favorite in my opinion. So let's now check out Sakura's special moves, and we are first gonna start with the Tatsus. Light Tatsu is pretty good. It combos from her crouching medium kick, so you can do something like this a lot, or even from say crouching medium kick into light kick Tatsu. This is like a safe fishing technique, right? Because this can frame trap if your opponent tries to press something, and the light kick Tatsu itself is -2, so that's actually pretty good. If you happen to land a hit, it leaves you at a +2 advantage and you are very close to your opponent, so you can throw them after, or shimmy, or just pressure. You get the idea, a lot that you can do at this situation. Now, one of the really cool things about it, like I said, is that you can actually frame trap with this. Typically, for example, the crouching medium kick is negative, so your opponent may try to take back their turn. If you happen to cancel into the light kick Tatsu, notice we hit him as a counter hit. Sakura was +4, so this means that then you can combo like a light kick into a medium punch TP, or obviously like jab Tatsu. Get whatever you want, right? You are +4 in this instant, so you get to combo whatever you like. I would say out of the fishing from the crouching medium kick, this is your best meterless fishing tool, right? It is actually a pretty good technique and a pretty good thing to do all around. Medium kick Tatsu is an attack that you don't want to do at block at all. Notice it is -6 on block, so never actually use the medium kick Tatsu. You will primarily be using this out of jump-ins. You combo into crouching heavy punch and then the medium kick Tatsu, and this will enable you to combo into your maximum damage combos. We will be doing a combo section at the end, showing you some of the combos. So medium kick Tatsu, combo tool only, please don't use it otherwise. Now the next one is gonna be the heavy kick Tatsu. Heavy kick Tatsu goes through fireballs, so this is one of its main functionality, and you can also use it in combos. So here, for example, as you know, it goes through fireballs, so that is its main use. But also, if you happen to hit your opponent with it, it puts you in a very favorable situation. It's very similar to Laura's light punch elbow, right? Notice Sakura is +2, and she is right in her opponent's face, so she can throw them. Obviously, you can then threaten with the low, with crouching light kick, crouching light punch, or for example, you can shimmy, you can apply some frame traps. You get the idea. And one of the good things is that you can kinda loop the situation, like you can shimmy them here, keep going for it, and then go for the grab. It's a pretty annoying and pretty obnoxious special in general. EX Tatsu is also fantastic for so many reasons. EX Tatsu for Sakura, first of all, is an attack that does a ton of corner carry. So when you hit them with it like that, notice that you can dash twice. Let's make them quick rise first so we can see the Oki. You can dash twice and you still be +3 on the wake up, which means that you can throw them on wake up. Notice that was like half screen corner carry, so that's actually pretty amazing. And one of the cool things about it is that it combos from her light punches as well, right? So even from something like crouching light kick, crouching light punch, you can combo into EX Tatsu for this sort of corner carry. That is honestly fantastic. New to the season, they gave it the ability to V-trigger cancel. So for example, here you can fish with crouching medium kick EX Tatsu, activate V-trigger, and use that, and notice again the corner carry. If I'm in the corner, if I'm like on this side of the wall, I can do a combo like the one I'm gonna show you right now. Notice this was almost a wall-to-wall carry, right? That is very powerful and very good. Now, one of the other really good things about it is that it is also pretty safe on block. If you are, for example, fishing with crouching medium kick, notice that you can combo into the EX Tatsu, safe on block, so there is no problem. We said that you can also use it as a fuck it, just activate V-trigger Anga tool. Here you will activate the +4 in their face and you get to apply your pressure, so that is fantastic. If they are near the wall, so for example maybe here, if they are a little bit near the wall, you get to juggle with a light punch uppercut, or you get to juggle with an EX uppercut for a lot of damage. So there is a ton of utility with the EX Tatsu, certainly one of her best attacks. Now next up, let's talk about the Dragon Punches. One of the things about Sakura is that her regular DPs, they don't have any sort of invincibility. So unlike the other Shotos, they are not invincible. This makes them a little bit trickier to use, but they still have their uses. The light punch uppercut, this is what you would use in any situations where your opponent is in a juggled state and they are about to fall quickly. Like for example, you just did an EX Tatsu, right? Here you juggle the light punch uppercut, or for example you got a fireball, you use a light punch uppercut, etc. And certainly one of the uses of it that can also be very helpful is as a far range anti-air. Like let's say for example your opponent is jumping, right? From a little bit of far distance, you can use the light punch uppercut as an anti-air. It is pretty functional at that, right? So we were gonna be showing a combo section at the end, showing you all the juggles that you can use and end with the light punch uppercut, but know that aside from combos, you can also use it as an anti-air for far range jumps. Now the other one is obviously the medium punch Dragon Punch. This have good range and you will mostly be using this to combo out of the standing light kick, right? It combos beautifully for almost all ranges out of the standing light kick. Standing light kick into medium punch uppercut, this is gonna be your most basic punish on block and on a whiff. It is her bread and butter for the most part, right? So yeah, you're gonna have to get used to this one. Now one of the things that I have to mention is that unfortunately the light and the medium punch uppercut, they don't set Sakura up for fantastic Oki situation. Notice if the opponent back rises, they are really far away from Sakura, you can't really dash twice here, right? They are negative on this dash, so that's unfortunate. This is both on the light and the medium punch enders. At most, you're gonna just dash once and then shake them with a standing heavy kick, right? And that's pretty much it. You don't really get anything much more than that, which is unfortunate. What will give you Oki, however, is the heavy punch DP, right? Here, this one leaves you a lot closer to your opponent, so you can dash once and then walk, and then you will be in their throw range, right? And get to apply your pressure. So you wanna combo into the heavy punch DP as much as possible. It is Sakura's highest damage combo ender, right? And it leaves you, like I said, in a pretty good Oki situation. Now, like I said previously, it combos from her crouching medium kick. So you can maybe try to hit confirm the crouching medium kick into the heavy punch uppercut. Although I will say that is pretty difficult here. I got super, unfortunately. I don't know why I keep getting super. It is hit confirmable, but it is pretty difficult. If I'm being completely honest, it is hit confirmable, but it is pretty difficult. You can take a look at the stun bar if you can. It's a 15 frame cancel window, so it is on the harder side. But if you can't do it, you can always just do the light kick Tatsu, and this will combo anyway. Or you can use the EX Tatsu, still get damage, obviously at the expense of spending 1 bar. Now, one of the other things that Sakura have is obviously the EXTP, and this is a true uppercut, a true reversal. You pretty much get crush counter if your opponent blocked or if your opponent whiffed. You don't get Oki after it, right? If they did a back rise, you can't really pressure them afterwards. You're a little bit further away from throw range. You kinda get to shake them after it, but like you don't really get that much here, right? Maybe walk into a little bit of a check, but the frame data isn't that fantastic here. You're not getting like point blank Oki on the wake up, and if you dash twice you are negative 14 as you saw, so kinda have to be careful. I would say after it, just try to maybe like shake them with a light kick or something, or like a medium punch, but you have to be a little bit careful here. Next up, obviously, we have the air tatsus, and the air tatsus, I would say, are not terribly useful aside from just being able to slightly alter your jump bar, and you don't even change it that much, to be honest. Just change your jump timing a little bit. For the most part, you would be using these for air-to-air interactions, like you air-to-air with someone and then cancel the jumping medium punch into the aerial tatsu for a little bit added damage. But obviously you can juggle ADP here as well if you land. So they are not that great. The EX Tatsu is good in the air-to-air interactions, although especially jumping back medium punch into EX Tatsu, that's pretty nice. But other than that, they are not really that useful. I'm gonna be completely honest, you don't really get to use them that much. Now the next attacks are obviously gonna be the Hadoukens. Her Hadouken is pretty alright in Street Fighter V. It does have decent frame data. It doesn't go full screen, but you can charge it. And charge it fireball is actually pretty good. You can use it to cover your approach, pretty much as a shield. It's 2 hits, so it will nullify 2 fireballs. Sakura have a really good walk speed, so it's pretty easy to walk behind it. If it happens to land, you can juggle a V-Skill 2 here, and obviously go for a follow-up light punch uppercut, good corner carry and good damage. And this is certainly gonna be like the main use. It's a very standard, very typical fireball. You can use it to zone your opponent from here, checking with stuff like crouching medium kick into fireball. That kind of stuff is pretty nice, right? And there is also the light or the anti-air fireball. The anti-air fireball is pretty much you're gonna be using every once in a while to pretty much check if your opponent likes to jump. If you happen to hit them, like if they were jumping and you actually got to land it, you can actually get some decent juggles here like that one. But it's hard to use it outside of that. Like your opponent have to give it to you, to be honest. But obviously you can use it in combos, and like I said, we will be showing a combo section at the end. Now the EX Fireball, however, is fantastic. This is very good for pressure, and it is very good for V-Trigger activation. Crouching medium kick into fireball activate is amazing because Sakura get to dash and you will be plus in your opponent's face, as you can see +2, so you can immediately throw them after. Even without the crouching medium kick into V-Trigger activate, you can just use it roll like that. Notice she was +7. This is absolutely one of the better V-Trigger activation for Sakura. I highly recommend that you activate from this. It is honestly fantastic, right? And if you happen to land the hit, you can obviously just juggle into the knee and get amazing Oki situation. You can juggle into the knee and get an Aussie medium punch uppercut follow-up. Right, get the light punch here. Or you can just go for a heavy punch DP, and this will give you a really good Oki situation, right? So even on the activation itself, it's actually really good. So now let's check out Sakura's V-triggers, and I'm gonna start first talking about V-trigger 1. V-trigger 1 for Sakura is an installed V-trigger. It's a power-up state where Hadoukens will be powered up. The regular Hadouken will kinda be like the same as the charged Hadoukens. Typically the charged Hadoukens are 2 hit, doing 80 damage and 150 stun and putting the opponent in a juggled state on hit. This is pretty much the same thing, right? These are really nice. They are pretty easy to use in combos because they combo from her crouching medium kick. So you get to do this easy follow up, juggle into a heavy punch DP, leave you in a good Oki and does good damage. Obviously you can also cancel the Hadoukens into V skills. So you can cancel it and get then the V skill 2 follow up. Then light punch DB, again dealing good damage, gonna do a lot of corner carry as well. So that thing's pretty nice. The good thing about these sequences in general is that the V-trigger Hadouken is actually plus on hit, or plus on block I mean. Obviously it frame traps if your opponent tries to interrupt, but if they don't it is +1, so you can get to kinda bully them with it like that. Now like you just seen, if your opponent here try to interrupt, this actually does frame trap as well. So that is pretty nice, right? And one of the cool things about them is that regularly when you charge the Hadoukens, they become 2 hits and they put the opponent in a juggle state. The V-trigger Hadoukens, they become 3 hits and they put the opponent in a juggle state as well. Notice one thing that is pretty important is that the fireball itself is a lot slower in V-trigger. So this is the regular one, right? Sakura was about the bridge when the fireball contacted Zeku. If I activated the V-trigger version, notice that Sakura was kinda post the bridge. So it does travel slower, allowing you to actually close the distance to the opponent, right? The charged version is very good, and because it's 3 hit, it have a lot of durability. It kinda allow you and force you to close the distance to the opponent. Maybe your opponent will try to nullify it, so they will throw a fireball, which will enable you to like get a jump in here or something. It's a very good it's a very good way to force the issue for the most part, right? Now, obviously the fireballs are pretty good in combos. Like I said previously, we'll be doing a combo section at the end. The anti-air fireball is also pretty good here. Combos pretty reliably from the back heavy punch. Because the hitbox itself is bigger, the follow-up combos are more consistent. Sakura also gets access to a new special move, and it is the Spawn special. This attack is very good and have a ton of usage. First of all, obviously you can use it on pressure because this attack is plus on block. Notice Sakura was +5, right? So this means that you can use it on block. Notice it has so much block stun that Zeku was completely unable to even interrupt a standing medium. So it is fantastic. Now one of the really cool things about it, notice the animation. Sakura kinda sways backward for a bit, right? So for example, if I do crouching light punch into throw, this is a really tech throw, right? So here if Zeku is trying to mash, right, he techs. Now one of the cool things is that because Sakura sways backward, she shifts her hurt box backwards, and this allows you to shimmy with this, right? So it's like an auto shimmy tool as well. Obviously then you're gonna be +9, which means that you can get follow-up combos like this. So it's a fantastic shimmy tool. You can use it in combos, as you've seen, in juggles. You can use it to shimmy your opponent. It's an awesome pressure tool, and you actually get to use a bunch of them before the V-trigger is over, right? That was around 7 before the V-trigger is over, so they are a really good tool, and I would recommend actually using them a lot. Obviously it's a very straightforward V-trigger, not a lot of mix-ups or gimmicks here, but in my opinion it's very solid. One thing finally that I feel like I have to mention, even though I don't personally like it that much, is that you can cancel these fireballs into the V-skill 1. Obviously the idea here is that you can go for the hop, or you can go for the grab if you want. You can pretty much force the mix-up here with this, which, you know, it is what it is, but I guess the opponent can still maybe V-reversal and this can escape. I don't love this application, to be honest, but it is possible, it is something that you can do. So let's now talk about V-trigger 2, and V-trigger 2 for the most part is pretty similar to V-trigger 1. It's an install V-trigger, but this one buffs up Sakura's Tatsus and the uppercuts, right? And it is pretty interesting in functionality, although I will say it's not as versatile as V-trigger 1. What V-trigger 2 does is pretty much buffs up the combo potential of both of these tools. You will find that the Tatsu now, all three of them, will do this big launcher Tatsu attack. This attack is actually very negative on block. It is very minus. It is minus 10 as you can see. But the good thing about it is that it combos from her standing light kick, right? So this is now a very easy combo, and obviously then you can juggle an uppercut if you want to do a ton of damage. And one of the good things here is that the uppercut is fully invincible, right? So this V-trigger is really good for burst damage. If you happen to get like a jumping combo here, right, you will see yourself doing a ton of damage. The issue is obviously it's not very good for pressure because you have lost the entire use of your Tatsus, the EX Tatsus and all of that. All of these tools are completely gone. So what is the point of using this V-trigger, or when do you want to use it? I will say you can use these V-triggers against character who you have to punish on certain things, or like for example a character like Balrog, who is very vital because it means that one light kick could mean a lot of damage. Thess, for example, is also another one. So let's say for example we have Thess whiffing the axe kick, right? Typically here with Sakura you can kinda like whiff punish him with a standing light kick into medium uppercut, and that is okay damage. But if we have the V-trigger on, right, if we have the V-trigger on, this is now is gonna actually really hurt, right? He's gonna eat a lot more damage because of the whiff Tatsu, obviously on block as well. If they're doing the same thing, right, he's still gonna be eating a ton of damage for this, a lot more damage than what you would normally get, and that I would say is the main use for it. It's really good at punishing in matchups where you need to punish specific something, or obviously again like you just seen using the TP for the anti-air. In matchups where there is specific tools that you need to punish, like a Balrog dash punch, like a dive kick. Obviously with Sakura's walk speed it's easy to make them whiff or like miss-space their dive kicks, and then you get to punish. In these matchups I would say that is when V-trigger 2 is really useful. So let's now briefly talk about Sakura's critical art. Her critical art is done by doing a double fireball motion forward and punch. When done from a distance it will just be this big fireball. If done a little bit closer it will transition into a cinematic animation. And something important to note here is Sakura is plus 19 after the critical art. This means that on a dash she is gonna be plus 3. So whenever you critical art someone you can always dash. You're gonna be plus 3, so you can take your turn or take the advantage. That's actually pretty nice. It's good to have something like that, right? Means that you can walk up and throw them afterwards. Now it's also kinda resets the position a little bit. It will always put the opponent slightly out of the corner. So if done when Sakura's back is to the corner, notice that she will carry the opponent forward a lot, and now the opponent is almost to the corner. So it always resets them to a distance where they are just a dash away from the corner. So that is actually pretty nice. The best way to combo into this critical art, and the most common way, is obviously out of uppercuts. Because her uppercuts hits multiple times, it's very easy to get this even with the medium, and obviously with the heavy. All of them you can accomplish the same thing. The Tatsus aren't cancelable into super, and you can do the Hadouken into super obviously, but you don't really get to combo into her Hadoukens that much anyways. Like it's not gonna be the most common confirm. Typically you're gonna be doing the uppercut, and the uppercut is what you will cancel into the super form. It is a pretty good critical art, all things considered, especially that you dash up and you get to have advantage. That's actually pretty nice. And that is pretty much it for Sakura. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page and the Discord server page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.